It was a night like this, 60 years to the very day, when a show made its first ever transmission onto our screens. And the viewing figures were good, but not good enough, due to the assassination of President JFK the day before. But when they re-aired it the following week, the viewing figures went off the roof. Because it was like nothing we had ever seen before. Why, hello there YouTube, and welcome to this very special edition of Who Review. I am Davros and I am a Whovian, and today, or should I say tonight, I am reviewing Doctor Who, An Unearthly Child. So yes, November 23rd, 1963, about 7 PM, our TV screens, this show aired, and it, like I said, was like nothing we'd ever seen before. People were stunned by the music, by the visuals, because they were only ever used to seeing science fiction like this in the cinema. And for the first time ever, this made its first airing debut, with William Hartnell as the Doctor, the original you might say, Carole Ann Ford as Susan Forman, William Russell as Ian Chesterton, and Barbra Wright as Jaqueline Hill as Barbra Wright. And in this serial, the two teachers, Ian and Barbra teaching history, Ian teaching science, both get suspicious of one of their students, Susan Forman, so decide to pay her a home visit. But when they find out that she's in a junkyard, they soon stumble across an old man who is her grandfather, and they have a blue police box. But it's no police box, it is the TARDIS, time and relative dimensions in space. And after trying to get their head around it, the Doctor abducts the two teachers and takes them back to prehistoric times, where they're in quite a pickle because, the cavemen want them to make fire after they have no idea how fire was made before. And of course, wanting to keep them captive so because they know how to make fire, the Doctor and his companions must escape the cavemen, where they find themselves on another planet in the far future. So that's the whole plot there. So what did I like about this one? Well, I've seen the pilot episode. The pilot episode and the first ever episode are pretty much shot for shot the same. Only a few alterations are different, but like William Hartnell wears like a necktie in the pilot, but then it's like a cravat or something in the episode. And William Hartnell was just brilliant. I think he was exactly what the producers, Verity Lambert, was looking for. And like everyone's grumpy granddad mixed with Father Christmas mixed with H.G. Wells. And I liked William Hartnell playing the Doctor. And he brought the character to life for the first time ever. And the fact that his character is still alive today, although he's portrayed by different actors, it's just to know that his legacy is still alive now, 6 decades on, long after he's gone too. It's still going. And William Hartnell just, sold it. Carole Ann Ford, even though she was 23 at the time, she was playing a 15-year-old girl, and she did an alright performance playing the Doctor's granddaughter Susan. I also liked Jaqueline Hill and William Russell as Ian and Barbra. Their on-screen chemistry was great together and that. And William Russell, he's about 99 now and still alive. I mean, he's not all there like he used to be, but the fact that he's here to see this landmark anniversary, that must be amazing. Carole Ann Ford too, she's like 83 now and she's still kicking. But of course, our two original stars, William Hartnell and Jaqueline Hill. Hartnell died in 75 due to health problems, and Jaqueline Hill, she died in 93, was it 92? Yeah, sad that they're both not here to see this, because, generations later, we're still watching classic Who. Unfortunately, this is not on BBC iPlayer's Whoniverse section because of something to do with the writers, Anthony Coburn, the writer of this story, the Wrights or whatever. But you can still watch it on like BritBox or on DVD, so that's there for you. Of course, the visuals. They made the visuals, what they had work, and the sets for the prehistoric times, although you can tell it was done in a studio, it worked for me. Also, it was black and white, but it was the 60s. Everyone had a black and white TV back then in the UK. And only 3 channels or 2 channels, BBC, ITV. And, after the whole fiasco calmed down with Kennedy's assassination, they were right to air it again, I think, because it became so much more than they originally intended it. Because, of course, Sidney Newman originally wanted this show to be, educational, teach kids about science and history, but it did do that, but it like I said, became so much more. Also, Sidney Newman specifically said no BEMs, bug-eyed monsters. And what do you know, in the next serial we got the Daleks with the eye stalks, which were BEM, bug-eyed monsters. But after he saw the viewings go up and kids recreating the Daleks and that, he soon said to Verity Lambert, who at that time was like a first ever female producer around the BBC, he told her that she made a good call, which of course you can see in the docudrama Adventure in Space and Time, which was around 10 years ago now. Also, the director as well, I can't remember his name, but I know that he was a closeted Indian man, who today I'm assuming he's openly gay, and because it's acceptable now. But again, the fact that he was an Indian director was quite the big deal back then as well. And this show just, like I said, was something that no one had ever seen. I mean, they knew of time travel, like H.G. Wells' The Time Machine, but also the TARDIS set. That was amazing as well, what they had going there. And, of course, we all know that the TARDIS was originally meant to change its disguise every episode, but with the show already being on a tight enough budget, they couldn't afford to do that, so they thought, let's have the chameleon circuit broken and the TARDIS remain a police box. Which, of course, has become just as iconic as the Doctor himself. But I also like the mystery and the mystique around William Hartnell's portrayal of the Doctor, because at this time we just knew that they were not of this people or not of this earth. It was throughout Hartnell's era we learn of his kind and his species and what have you, and it wasn't even until the end of the 60s we went to the Doctor's home planet Gallifrey and saw like the High Time Lords and everything. But this is where it all began. 60 years ago to this night, the show aired. People hid behind the sofas. I don't know if that was a joke. Colin Baker, he said in interviews that when he came home from the pub and was coming in and was looking over the stair banister because they had it on the TV, and at the end, when it was 25 minutes long, the first ever episode, he was still stood there. Peter Davison, he said that he missed the first ever episode when it originally aired twice, but I'm sure he's seen it now. Other actors who would go on to one day be the Doctor, I don't know where they were when they saw it and stuff, but yes, just the visual effects that they had, like I said, they made work, especially that opening title sequence. Nothing like that had ever been done on the TV before, and they actually used test footage of the director's face, or some producer's face, to see if they could make that work, but we could see his face, but people thought that would be too terrifying for kids. And of course, the Doctor Who title sequence was apparently scary back then, but has gone on to be iconic as well with the show. That do 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 and that do 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 do. We all know how the show's theme is, but yes, and also the extras they had for the cavemen. They too were good. Yeah, the cavemen were talking, but I think that was for the audience's benefit, so they're not listening to the good. But I like to assume that was the TARDIS translation links, even though that was never mentioned until Christopher Eccleston's era. But this was a great first serial for the show, and of course, it was the first definitely the first probably the first of its kind. And this was just the beginning of a long-running series that would run for 26 years before its unfortunate cancellation in '89. But then, for one night early in the '90s, was revived for a one-off TV movie with Paul McGann. But then in 2005, 18 years ago now, the show returned to our screens. So basically, it was cancelled, but it never left us. I mean, it came back, and that's when it all started for me, my Who fandom with Christopher Eccleston. I mean, I had very brief memories of the Eighth Doctor, the TV movie in '96, but I was 5 and was scared easy. But I'd say it truly began for me and my generation with Eccleston. But I know I keep saying that a lot, but William Hartnell, if only he could see it now, probably can in spirit. The whole regeneration as well was a big risk at that time because they didn't know how audiences would take it, but they took it well, and it's become a big part of the show as well, regeneration. And whoever came up with that is a genius, because it would have never have lasted to this as long as it has now. I mean, yeah, the show's changed showrunners and evolved over the decades, but it's still going on now, and it started this night 60 years ago. So ratings, I'll give the performances a 10, the writing a 9, the visuals an 8, my personal a 9. So there you go. So enjoy the rest of your 60th Doctor Who celebrations, and of course we have the 60th specials beginning this weekend, so I'm looking forward to that. So I'll definitely be giving my quick thoughts on that, probably audio and what have you, because it's fresh and what have you. Anyway, yeah. Have you seen it? I bet you have. Let me know what you think down below in the comments. If you like this video, be sure to give it a big thumbs up and to share with your friends. Feel free to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and to hit that notification bell. All of my social media links are down below in the description, so feel free to check all that out. I have been Davros, and I'm a Whovian, and this has been a very special edition of Who Review on An Unearthly Child. Yep, 60 years of Doctor Who, and here's to many more. So until next time, run for your life.